good afternoon. We're here in Wales near Nantlle, having a look around a couple of quarries. We're going to be starting at the penny Orsedd quarry, which was founded in 1816. Have a look around here, then back down to the Dorothea quarry, founded in 1820. There's loads to see, so let's go.
Right, we've made it up to the top of the quarry and we're going to start looking around all the various buildings that are still here, and there's some cable pulley systems as well, which are cool, and there's a gigantic tank right behind me there, which is pretty cool. So we'll go and explore a little bit and see what we can find. Finding our way in. We thought it might be a bit difficult. There's a gigantic door wide open, so it was a lot easier than we expected. It smells of fuel in here actually, or oil.
So now we're in the slate dressing shed, and you can see the areas where the slate would have been worked. These are some of the smaller benches here. Moving up to some of the bigger holding skips where slate would have been cut. This would provide you with some protection. And then moving along to the cutting area, which is a mix of older and new equipment. You can see here that we've got the winding wheel, which would have powered this section. Originally probably belt driven. And then you can see some of the newer electrical equipment that would have powered it later on. And the sections here where the slate would be cut, again providing some protection from the noise. Interestingly, these are produced from slate themselves. Quite often they would have been wood or metal, but in this case slate blocks have been placed in. And then behind we've got the space where the slate would have been pulled through, either on a track, conveyor belt. It's difficult to tell now which method would have been used, and of course it could well have been changed over the centuries that this was operational. And most importantly, a later fitting of a portaloo, which would have been really helpful for the miners when they were up here to spend a penny. It's a large shed, perhaps not as large as some of the others in the other quarries, but plenty of space up here, and of course there are other smaller sheds further down. Fuel truck here. There's also various fuel points dumped about when it changed from rail through to road in the mid-20th century. And you can see there's a lot of retrofitting gone on with that change from hydraulics to electricity, and from cableway and rail to road. Lots of changes to the old building. Everything from the power sources, which have been added in, through to the walls and the roof, built solidly in the 19th century, through to the modern metal doors, which would have been fitted far later into the 20th century, as this mine was operational from 1816 until 1979. So you can see here the blondin standing tall. This would have held the cable, which will have hauled the slate up from the quarry floor, which is to our left. We'll have a look at that on the drone shortly. Hundreds of metres below us, and hauled it up here to the plateau, where it would have been going to the dressing station. And here we've got the winding equipment that would have powered the blondin up above. You can see it's really hefty to be able to take the weight of the slate. We're standing here on the edge of the quarry. You can see the size of this quarry. This is just Penny Orsedd on its own. We'll have a look at Dorothea quarry later on, which was slightly smaller size. However, because this worked for a lot longer, you can see that a lot more stone was taken out of it. There are also some fascinating geological sections within it where you can see the slate is bending to one side, to the other, or in some cases being crushed into an archway. And here we've got the substation for the quarry, which would have powered the blondin and other equipment in later times. You can see all of the ceramic pieces which would have provided insulation round to the quarry buildings. And you can see next to it there the blondin and winding equipment to haul the slate up from the quarry floor below.
So I found this old building. It appears to have a rail on the floor, which is there to the left. Also in the ceiling, it's got a mechanism in the middle, which would obviously have moved forwards and backwards as well. The ceiling's completely gone here. I imagine it was this corrugated stuff that's hanging around there. It's quite a big building actually. It goes on a bit further than I was expecting. Oh cool. I'll just pan the camera down a bit. It's actually got a little turntable there in the floor. So obviously what was coming along these tracks here could then be diverted, I guess, that way, straight on. So that's pretty cool actually. There's a big sort of stone wheel here as well. And grinding, oh there's the cutting machines, or some of them. This is brilliant. Head into here. Yeah, so obviously they could move the stuff that came in the main door, they could then transport it on the tracks. And then if you look down on the floor there, you can see these are the rails where they would have been able to bring it up to the benches, ready to cut. So we're now on the bottom level buildings, and these are actually more decayed and falling down than buildings on the upper levels are, to be honest. There's no roof on this one, but you can see there you've got like a giant wheel there, which is connected all the way along through the ceiling, which would have powered, we're thinking it would have powered like cutting machines or the dressing machines or whatever they're called. And it goes all the way along through there. Possibly the full length of the building, but we can't get to that far end yet due to the overgrowth inside it. But this is all fallen down around us as well. So if you look on the floor there, you can see all the piles of the wood. It's all fallen down. This is actually quite a large shed as well, because that's the door at the far side of it. This is, oh wait a minute, there's another huge wheel here as well. There's another bit of system going through the ceiling. This wheel's even more cool. There's the wheel. Bring it round, there we go. Look at that. How awesome is that? So we're now heading for Dorothea Quarry, and we've taken hopefully a little shortcut through the trees, and come across some old buildings in the trees as well. It does look like there's actually a really good path the other side of this, and maybe we missed the first bit of the path, but yeah, some cool old buildings. See if we can get in the other side of it maybe. And what looks to be hopefully a good path for our next part. So as you enter the quarry, you've got these giant support columns as you come underneath the road, and there's 3 of them, one in the trees off to the right, and this would have had a path that ran across the top of it, the transport and whatever across the top.
An extensive network of narrow gauge tramways served the Nantlle quarries. Slate was moved from the quarries on the Nantlle railway, which took it to the port of Carnarvon for onward transport. Unlike most other railways, including the quarry tramways, it remained horse-drawn until it closed in 1963. Bryn lies to the north of the main site at Dorothea, as one of the oldest workings on the Nantlle site. The land was originally a farm, with the farmhouse and outbuildings dating to the 17th century. When quarrying came in 1770, waste slate was used to improve the buildings, converting the outbuildings into quarrymen's cottages and refurbishing the farmhouse. A slate mill was also built, but only the chimney and walls now remain. There are further ruins higher up on the hillside, including another slate mill and smithy, part of an unsuccessful expansion in the early 20th century. Bryn closed in the 1960s, with the equipment donated and the buildings left to decay.
So lots of these old abandoned buildings above the quarry. Some of them still standing pretty good, others just ready to fall down, I guess, but in general they've been here for a good 150, 200 years, maybe some of them, and they are still here, sort of.
Tallysan Hall was built in the 18th century and predates the quarrying in the area. It was improved and extended throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, and you can see some changes to the brickwork, stonework and extensions as you pass. It's 3 stories high. Dorothea Quarry operated for 150 years from 1820 until 1970. The land was owned by the Garnons family, who farmed up at Bryn. It was a consolidation of several smaller pits and named for the landowner's wife. Along with its neighbours, Dorothea mined 500 million-year-old Cambrian slate. The slate extended well below the valley floor, leading to a number of large open pits. When being worked, these would regularly fill with water, and therefore pump houses to remove the water from the pits are a common sight in the Nantlle mines. Dorothea has the most complete example of a pump house, including the Lancashire boilers and Cornish beam engine. Dorothea is a large and extremely deep quarry extending down around 100 metres from the surface. The old quarry workings have now flooded and remain underwater, including huts, tracks, tunnels and cranes. Only the spoil heaps and pyramids remain above ground, along with a few buildings such as the pump house and a small number of cottages. It is now used for diving, with access to members of the North Wales Technical Divers Club.
Like Penny Orsedd, Dorothea operated cableways held up by blondins and chain-operated inclines on the huge stone pyramid blocks. Alongside the slate there was a huge volume of waste rock which was hauled up to form the slate heaps behind.
And here there are two tunnels which run underneath the massive inclines above. You can see the huge amount of stonework above them, and also the temperature drops as you go in. It's only the beginning of summer, so the rock is still quite cold at the moment, and there's a noticeable temperature drop around any large areas of rock, such as these tunnels and inclines, and also on some of the other inclines and cuttings that we've been through today. It's quite a warm day, so it's actually quite a pleasant natural air conditioning system.